Do you like road trips? Do you like shocks? Do you like sepsis? Then this is the show for you. It's the Septic Shock Road Trip. And
yep.
yeah,
How long were you working on that?
all of 10 seconds. And I know it feels like at least 15, right? But here we are. We're still in Virginia, and it's our Italians Invade Virginia double bill special.
Right.
Where some of those filthy ities have invaded our beloved Virginia with their film crews to bring us a couple of horror films. We're talking Metamorphosis and Night Killer, both from 1990. Right. Let's get into it. Unless, Ron, would you like this opportunity to shout, "Get out of the road, you Virginian hippie"?
Get out of the road, you hippie. Yeah, you dinosaur hippie.
You dinosaur hippie. Yes, because there are dinosaurs, believe it or not. Or one, yeah. So, Metamorphosis, aka Regenerator, aka apparently in Spain, they gave this the title Reanimator 2.
Reanimator 2, yeah, apparently,
yeah. Actually, both these films, they turn out to have been given alternative titles to tie them into other more lucrative series, right?
Right.
So anyway, yeah, so this is, I suppose this is, it's a Fly rip-off more than anything else, I guess. Probably with a little bit of Altered States maybe thrown in there.
Yeah.
Well. The only film to have been directed by Luigi Montefiore, aka George Eastman, who me and Nick and Gav have actually been talking about a lot recently, because we're currently doing our 1 year special show when we look at all the films of Aristide Massachesi, Joe D'Amato, and George Eastman is in a lot of them, and he wrote a lot of scripts for them as well. So he's quite a well-known Italian exploitation face. I suppose most famous for playing Anthropophagus the Beast. And yeah, so this is the one film he actually directed for Film Mirage, shot in Norfolk, Virginia, right? Stars Jean Lebrock, who's a little bit Tom Cruisey. Did you think?
Any connection to Kelly LeBrock, you think?
No, but he is definitely Megan Ward's uncle.
That's a different podcast.
See other show. Our fans watch everything, Ron. They'll get it. No, I thought, especially when he gets older later on, there was a few. Fuck, he looks quite a bit like Tom Cruise. Something about his eyes, or there's something quite Tom Cruise about him. Anyway, so he's a university professor and a genetic engineer, quite arrogant. I suppose he's like a handsome young hotshot guy, and he's in danger of being shut down because he hasn't published anything, right? And people want to see his, because he's using a lot of money. He's using he's
right.
research grant. Turns out he's working on some sort of cell regeneration serum that halt the aging process. So he's injecting. He's injecting monkeys in the eye, and it's not going well. And then so he's in danger of it having the project shut down. So he injects himself in the eye with this serum, which turns out to have the kind of short-term benefits of, I suppose he has super strength, but also it's a very atavistic kind of Jekyll and Hyde thing. So he has all these flashbacks about him, like beating up women, basically, right? Which he
kind of blackouts, and then he realizes that he's been kind of doing bad things and not realizing it.
Yeah, so we get a cameo from Laura Gemser, who is, of course, was once upon a time Black Emmanuel in the Black Emmanuel films, which we've been talking about over on the Joe D'Amato series a lot. But then also he's aging rapidly and also mutating into something or other, which at the very end of the film turns out he's actually regressed into a dinosaur, kind of.
A very shoddily made plastic dinosaur.
Yeah,
Yes.
a prop that was actually reused from another fantasy film called Quest for the Mighty Sword, which was a
Oh, really? Okay.
Conan rip-off movie,
Oh,
which we will also be talking about on the Joe D'Amato, because it's a Joe D'Amato film.
okay.
Yes, that's kind of the shape of it. I mean, yeah, for me, I'll just say up front, of these two films, one I really enjoyed in a massive trashy way. It was great fun. The other one I didn't. This was the one I didn't. This was quite
Yeah. It's,
boring, to be
so the
honest.
one you really, really enjoyed in a trashy way, and the other one was Metamorphosis.
Exactly. Yes.
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 Yeah.
I sense the same thing from you.
Yeah, I think it was it. Yeah. I mean, not even just The Fly, but I also was marveling about how basically this is the origin story of the Spider-Man villain Lizard, the Lizard.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's basically
Oh, okay. Okay.
that who played by Reese Ifans in one of
Events.
the Spider-Man
Yeah.
movies. Yeah, so yeah, basically, scientist injects himself, he's running out of funding, injects himself with the experimental serum, turns into a something, right? But in this case, so yeah, it was a little bit unclear because it was like, okay, is he bad? Is it making him? What is the serum doing? Is it making him evil? Is it
Right.
is it making him age, or is it making him into a dinosaur? But apparently, it does all three of them, right? So
Yeah. It's a one-stop shop. Yeah.
It's quite unclear what this serum actually does and what it's even supposed to do, right?
Yeah, they did fumble.
But yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, they did fumble that. They fumbled the ball on, because, like, I mean, it's a confidently enough put together film, but it's just they did fumble that. Like, I wasn't quite sure the rules of the game weren't clear, right? I wasn't quite sure, because this kind of thing, you kind of have to know what fraud in order for you to get behind it and worry about the characters, and you have to know what the potential. But here I wasn't. Yeah, like you said, oh, what's he going to become? An old man, ape, a rape? Oh, turns out he's a chintzy dinosaur, which is the best bit of the film, because at least I laughed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I was sitting at like a convenience store watching this, like a rest stop, and I embarrassingly, I just yelled. I was like, "What?" like full voice, like in the middle of this convenience store, like, "What?" Good. Yeah, I didn't know what was going on, but yeah, I mean, he was fine. He obviously had, I'm surprised we didn't see more of him as sort of like this kind of actor around these times, because I don't know that guy at all.
Gene LeBrock.
Yeah. In the Rock, yeah.
Oh, he was in one more film for these Italians, Beyond Darkness, that was made around the same time by the same director as the next one we're going to talk about, and he's in Forest of America, KKK America. If you remember, that was a film Trauma put out. He's in.
Okay.
He wasn't in much.
And he was decent, so I was surprised he didn't show up in more things, and like B movies and stuff like that. But yeah, and it was had its moments, whatever. But again, it was just sort of like, it was quite long, and it wasn't very particularly interesting. It was very much like a rehashed kind of story that just went around and around. But it was fine. Again, it was just not that great.
I'm glad you mentioned the Spider-Man lizard thing, because that's actually something I wouldn't have picked up on. And now that you mention it, I mean, yeah, that actually may be even more of an influence potentially than The Fly Altered States, right? It could.
Sure, yeah, I know a lot of the reviews I read all reference the Fly, and actually I didn't get The Fly. I was like, wait a second, this is this is a Spider-Man villain. Like this is
Yeah.
the origin story of a comic book villain, right? That's what this is, right? So
I think the fly thing only comes in is if you'd have seen it like when it was new, because it would have been more
right,
and well, even
sure, and probably the Fly was a
yeah,
yeah. But when I was watching, I was like, first thing I was like, oh, that this is how they make supervillains in comics, right? Like this exact
right.
story.
No,
It's
I
not even just the Lizard. I think that's been used. You know, like the
yeah,
guy running the funding and injecting himself. It's I mean, how many
right.
times has that been in
Yeah, I
different
think
media,
you're onto
right? So
something there. Did Bruce Banner inject himself or do
no,
something?
that was a lab accident, right?
Oh, it was
But
an accident. Okay.
yeah,
Um,
again, that
yeah,
was again.
splitting hairs right there. That
Yeah.
yeah,
But I'm sure. But I mean, the fact that he turned into a dinosaur made me connect it with the lizard. But I
right.
think that is the origin story for a bunch of different supervillains, right? So
No, but you're right. It's that yeah, the reptilian kind of it. Oh, yeah,
mm,
but it is yeah. More than anything, it is just hilarious. Like when the door opens and there's a dinosaur there, I was like, ah!
yeah,
And I had seen this film before, and I'd had the same reaction the first time. I'd forgotten, and
yeah,
same thing happened again. Ah! So that was quite good.
yeah. They opened it, was like, wait, I was like, yeah, what? And
Yeah.
not even like a good dinosaur. It was like those dinosaurs that you buy at like the dollar store that like that you blow up and sit inside.
Well,
I
it's
was
the
like,
dinosaur that Actor will fight in Quest for the Mighty Sword.
yeah, yeah. It was yeah. I'm just because I mean, up until then the special effects or like the makeup effects and stuff like that, and the visual effects were relatively decent. I mean, not that bad.
Well, they
They're
didn't
you know
put the
they
film
had
to shame, did they? They didn't put the
yeah. And but then the fact that they would hang their hat on that
dinosaur.
as a final thing, it was really strange to me because I was like, I mean, if they had just sort of, made him old and then he died, or or I know there's a million different things they could have ended this with, but instead of like of all the things they could have chosen, like the worst looking dinosaur costume, like it was really confusing. Yeah,
I think what the term you're looking for is what when they say what was that? It was a nightmare from the
it
past.
was
Yes,
a fright. Yeah, so it was different podcast, right?
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We're fans are all over this. So
And also being called metamorphosis, I was kind of hoping you would turn into a big cockroach, but
no. So let us waste no more time on metamorphosis. Let's get to the jewel and the crown of this episode, Ron.
right,
Night Killer, or
right.
as it was known in Italy, non aprite che la porta, which apparently are three. Sorry, I forgot to mention. So apparently that make in Italy that would make this the second sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So if you can imagine, you're an Italian horror fan who's well, actually, you've already been disappointed once by Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, right? I don't care what anyone says. That's a mess of a film. But then you would have been faced with this, right? So this one, directed and written by AKA Clyde Anderson, who is, of course, Claudio Fragasso, with some insert gore scenes added by the editor, Bruno Mattei. And yeah, this one's, I mean, boy, what a what an inane kind of loopy. It kind of this film has its own logic, right? I think,
yeah, yeah.
but I really enjoyed
I,
this.
as I could say, as I was watching this movie, I was like, like I'm getting pretty good at this now. Where I'm watching this movie and I said, Clive loves this movie.
It's just, it's got that thing. Did you not enjoy this, Ron?
It was certainly not as much as you, but
Okay.
yeah, I have
What
some
I
questions.
what I like about so as people may a lot of people may have ended up watching this as well because of course it's the dream team that made the major kind of cult phenomenon that has Troll 2 has become, right? So
Right, sure.
I remember seeing Troll 2 way back in the day and finding it most amusing. But then, unbeknownst to me, there was this massive cult brewing that I didn't know about until that doc came out, best worst movie, and then it turned out
Right,
a Troll 2 because it had been on Mystery Science Theater 3000 helped, I think. But Troll
right.
2 just had this this massive cult following, and I think one of the appeals of Troll 2, which this film shares a little bit, is that weird kind of small town America, in this case Virginia, seen through the eyes of outsiders, right? Who clearly don't understand
it at all.
right? Like everything about this film is just a little bit off and weird, isn't it? Like the production, like the main character sits a typewriter at her house, and on her desk she has books stacked just right and a fluffy toy and like an American flag or something, and it's just like everything just seems really contrived, right? And the dialogue and the way people greet it, the way reporters and police, everything is wrong, right? Which is great. That's what I love about it, is the fact that it's just everything's just a little bit wrong. But yeah, so basically this stars Tara Buckman, who has quite an amusingly gratuitous topless scene. Her topless scene is fantastically gratuitous.
Yeah.
There's no reason for that to be in this.
No reason at all. Yeah.
It's great. So she's attacked at home by so there's a serial killer in a monster mask and like a long clawed glove, which it must be a Freddy Krueger reference, right?
Yeah.
And also super strong, I guess, because in the new inserted gore scenes, he can just punch right through people.
Right through people with this rubber glove. I didn't get it. Yeah, what?
And also he starts off as he does dirty phone calls, right? Like, I can see you. And yeah, as well, his dialogue is just fucking hilarious. Everything he says is just I come and get the lovely lady. Everything he says is just, I suppose it's designed to be creepy, but it just had to be rolling on the floor. So he breaks into her house, and I guess he has his wicked way with her. But at some point, the policeman says something like, she had a, what did he say? He says something like, she had a frightening amount of seminal fluid inside her or something.
Oh, yeah.
What? But he stopped short of killing her.
But they couldn't figure out who did it, though. Even though they had a frightening amount of seminal fluid, but they can't figure out who did it.
And she ends up, so she survives, but she's traumatized to the point where she's lost her memory. She doesn't even recognize her own little girl, right?
Right.
And she becomes suicidal as well. In the process of becoming suicidal, she's Peter Hooton, who, giving one hell of a performance.
Yeah. This guy.
He's like a brain-damaged Ed Harris or something, isn't he? And his opening scene, like, we're introduced to him as like this kind of pickup guy, but like driving a pickup truck, oddly enough, and drinking and just accosting her as she's driving down the road, right? He just pulls up alongside her and he's like, "Hey, baby!" It's again, it's just I don't know if this is how they think the residents of Virginia behave.
Yeah, I was really confused, like, because I mean, you're supposed to think that it's him, right?
Yes.
That he was the one that did the attack at the beginning, and so they spend a lot of time trying to make you think that he's this bad guy, but yeah. So but when he first sees her, he just sort of catcalls her from another car, and then she says, "Fuck off, go away," and then turns in, and he's like, "I'm gonna follow her," right? Yes. And then he follows her right into the bathroom, this public restroom of this place, and then and then gets, I don't know, is that where she pulls a gun on him or something?
Yeah, she pulls a gun on him.
Yeah.
This is
and then she runs away to the beach, and then he follows her to the beach, and I was like, and so I was like, okay, well, this is supposed to be the guy that did it, of course, and okay, now I can kind of go along with that. I can buy it that maybe he's this real creepy guy and he knows her and she doesn't remember him, and so that's why he keeps following her. But then at the very, very end, spoiler, turns out that he's just her husband,
Yeah,
right?
he's the estranged alcoholic ex-cop husband.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
the
so,
twist.
and
That's
so,
what the
and he's supposed to
twist.
be at the end. He's almost the hero because he saves
Yes,
her from. And I
yeah,
was like, but he literally like fall through to a
yeah,
restroom to molest. I was like, I don't really understand.
yeah. So he rescues her from committing suicide, but then she becomes basically his sex slave in like a motel.
Yeah, sex slave, right? Yeah. So, and yeah, he holds her.
So yeah, it
Yeah.
turns out at the end this is just some kind of weird tough love to restart, get her memories back, or to yeah, it's
And
all
and and and
psychological.
continuing with the Marvel theme,
Ah, yeah.
uh, did you happen to notice that Peter Hooten was the original Doctor Strange before Benedict Cumberbatch? So he's
Oh,
yeah,
in that
and
TV movie, is that?
yeah, the TV movie
Is it?
1978. Yeah, so
Ah, interesting.
we
I've
got the
never
Lizard
seen
and
that.
Doctor Strange.
I've never seen. Have you seen that, Doctor Strange?
No, no, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Ah, interesting. I shall be giving that a watch at some point. Oh, okay. No, I didn't pick up on that. I do know him from. He was in some other. The Italians seem to like him. They put him in. I'm quite keen to see some of his other films actually, to see if he gives anywhere near this sort of performance, right? Because yeah, he's quite into it, isn't he? In a way.
yeah,
But yeah, it's that thing about we've talked about this before, but it's a little bit the experience that we've had a little bit here in Japan, where sometimes when you're directed by someone in a language that they don't, it doesn't matter how potentially good you are as an actor,
yeah.
it really affects your performance when you don't know what you're
Your
doing.
performance, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's possible if it
And
was that, but
the other thing I like as well is how it stops every now and again and just takes its like it's got this kind of, I suppose it's got the basic kind of pacing of a thriller, blah, 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 blah. But like that scene in the restroom, in the toilet, it's just suddenly slows down, doesn't it? It's like, take your clothes off, and he put them in the toilet, and then
yeah,
and flush it. Like all his reaction, like it just slows right down. There's a different movie, and then it picks up again. It's like it's so strange. It's like weirdly very like fever dream or something. Like
yeah, yeah. I think it was real, yeah. And then it was like the killer kept putting this mask on with this rubber glove that was you're supposed to believe is real knives and that he can punch through people, but
yes,
then it's just a rapist. And it was like, well, wait, like what is this supernatural or is it just a rapist? Like I didn't even know what genre this was in, right? So like
yeah. It's a real mystery. I also really like the scene where the killer picks up that hot blonde in a bar and then takes her back to like a garage or something, and they do the whole Little Red Riding Hood role play
right.
thing, and she goes, "Oh, grandma, what a big schlong you have!" And then he like, does he drown her in glue or something? Like
Yeah. I don't know what, yeah, no, I think it was like because it was like he was making those masks. So I think he was
oh, that's
making
right.
it was
Okay,
latex, I think, right? So
right, right.
he was trying to make a latex mask of her or something.
And again, this is something I'm familiar with doing too many Saigon dramas in Japan. Just things that are a little bit off. Like for instance, there's a scene early on in the film where Tara Buckman sits down to have breakfast, right? And you know, what's a traditional, breakfast in Virginia? She's got a cup of coffee, but she hasn't got toast. She's got like really elaborately made like sandwiches, like with a cocktail stick through,
Yeah.
and loads of them, like three or four, like bulging sandwiches, and you're thinking, that's what these Italian people think that
Think
Americans
American
have.
seat. Yeah.
Just loads of little things like that. I find endlessly kind of quite amusing, kind of culture clash things. Um, yeah, so I think yeah, not to overstate. I think if you're not attuned to that, then maybe this film isn't quite going to be as much fun as I found it. But
Yeah,
if
I find it more confusing in general. Just like, yeah, I mean, you were amused by it, and I was kind of like, I don't understand what's happening here. Like, what are they trying to do, right? Yeah, so I think maybe if we'd watched it together, I would have appreciated it more. I think maybe.
yeah, oh no, it would be a good one. It would be a good party film, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Um,
Yeah.
and no, I was pleased because I'd never seen this one before, and it's like the Fragasso Mattei, Franco Gadenzi, Flora Film Reg, these kind of Italian films of this era and the ones they shot in the States, they can kind of be hit and miss. Some of them are just kind of a bit boring, and then you get a diamond in the rough like Troll 2, for example.
Right.
And yeah, I wasn't quite sure which way this was going. So, well, it wasn't going the Metamorphosis way, right? So I was quite pleased that this one was. Yeah, I did enjoy this quite a bit, and our friend Nick would have a ball with this one. I think.
Yeah.
I think I'll send him a copy. I think he'd really enjoy this.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one. Like, yeah, it was like a little bit of Scream and a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street and a little bit of like, I don't know, supernatural, like super powered killer, thing. And then and there was a rape film, and then there was like, it was interesting. It was definitely, yeah. I would love to see what they really were trying for, but
yeah, it is kind of interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting what what 3 or 4 films were they? Because usually you can see the direct influence, right? You can see, even if it goes off kilter a little bit, you can kind of see what the template. And I'm sure there's a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street here with the glove or whatever.
Right.
But other than that, I'm like, what the fuck are they? What are they? What film are they copying here? Assuming they probably are copying at least one film, right? But it's it's been put in the blender for so long that which is kind of a good thing, I suppose. I mean, that's the one thing you can't necessarily directly call it a Honya 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 rip.
Do you think it was a little bit of was it Black Christmas, which is where the killer was inside the house?
Well, I was wondering about that as well, but they forgot to do the gag, right? Because
forgot to do it though, right?
On the phone.
Yeah, because he looks across the street, and there was someone in the in the payphone, but it was never clear if that really was the killer or not.
That's how I thought they were going, because she called the police first as well. Right? She called the police. The police called her back, and I'm thinking, oh, this is exactly the perfect timing for the man on the policeman to say the call's coming from inside the house.
Yes, exactly.
But they forget to do it or didn't mean to do it. I thought they'd missed the trick. So that was weird.
And then even the first time, it wasn't even he wasn't even in the house, right?
Yeah.
But then the second time he was. But so yeah,
and somehow they managed that reveal as well. Is just like that should be in even in the that should be a slightly creepy reveal that the man is in the house, right? But when they reveal and he comes around the corner of the door in his monster mask, I just went like there was nothing at all creepy or like scary about it. I just oh, there he is, like with his silly mask. I just wanted to say there is actually an appetizer, right? I think there's the very beginning of the film is quite a good like depending on your reaction to the first like 5 minutes of the film, if it's going to be for you or not, because there's a bit of a prologue, right, where there's some people like doing some sort of putting on some kind of dance show, right? Do you remember this? They're on stage and they're like dancing. To the audition, and there's like
he kills the dancer. The dancer's late, right? So.
And that's got nothing to do with the rest of it. It's a setup, right? But if you enjoy and again, I'm not blaming her, but if you enjoy the performance of the frustrated choreographer, the teacher, like if you're enjoying her flustered reaction to them not doing, then you're going to get on with this film, right? Because that's the kind of tone of the film is like, what's she doing?
Oh, these young people, and I think they're going to be late, and
and she's like trying to light the cigarette and gives up, and there's a lot of business going on. Like it's very unnatural, right? It's And again, I'm not blaming her necessarily, but it's just I can imagine. We've had the experience a million times before. She probably turned up, didn't know what the hell was going on. Someone told her what to do maybe a minute before it was in broken English and she was
or through a translator.
So I thought it was worth adding that as a
Also, I was while we were switching over, I looked up Peter Hoot, and apparently after this movie he didn't act again for like 22 years.
I noticed there was a gap, and then he's in some independent things, right? I guess on
a couple independent things, and now he's gone again, right? So
he's in like what's the other one? I think he's in Just a Damn Soldier, right? This is one of the titles of the Italian films he was in. So yeah, he was
Oh yeah,
again one of these.
before this.
There were people like this. It was like Brent Huff, and there were a few other people, Red Brown, and there were a few like American actors who the Italians seized upon, right? They didn't do much outside of, but for some
Right.
reason, the Italians loved them. They looked or sounded, or something about them made them look just like what just a ticket, right? They were like, yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, he was one for a short time. So yeah, no, I'd be interested to check out some more Peter Hooton on the strength of this. And yeah, that Doctor yeah, him as Doctor Strange, that could be interesting, right?
Huh.
Yeah. So
Right.
yeah, there we go. That's our and now so next time we'll be just crossing over into West Virginia,
He
Mountain
was
Mama. Take
oh
me.
interesting. Sorry, I'm just looking up.
Yeah.
Before he was also in the original Inglourious Bastards.
That's right. Yes, that's the other one he was in. He was part of the yeah. Yeah. So there we go. Obviously,
Right. Yep.
obviously Ron is a newly minted Peter Hooton fan.
Peter
Going down yeah, all the way. Hooton.
Hoot hoot.
Hoot,
Get out of the road, you hippie. You hootin' hippie.
You Hooton, Virginia hippie. So yeah, West Virginia next time then.
All right.
Until
West
then,
Virginia, Mountain Mama.
I already did that. You were ignoring me looking at Peter Hooton.
Take me home.
Don't worry. Don't worry,
Bye.
listeners. We'll do this gag a whole lot more when we actually record it. We'll be singing Mountain Mama more than you can possibly.
Not called Mountain Mama. Country roads.
No, it's called Mountain Mama.